Welcome to the Online Business Reset, my new 5-part series where I'm walking you through the shifts that are currently changing in the online business industry because I am seeing a lot of shifts being made. I'm Amy, founder of FastForwardAmy, and I have coached over 8,000 entrepreneurs to start and scale their business. But what we're seeing this year is that the rules of the game have changed. So in this episode series, I'm going to share with you what I'm seeing on the ground, what's working, what's dying, and especially what you need to do differently if you want to win this year. Let's go. Hello, and welcome to Fail to Win, the show where we love to make mistakes and learn from them so you can turn your passion into profits and live life on your own terms. I'm Amy van der Putten from FastForwardAmy, your host and coach, and I'll bring you a new episode with simple strategies every Tuesday. Last week, I was scrolling through Instagram and I saw 6 different business owners post almost the exact same thing about the exact same topic. Same angle, same hook, same advice, and it got a decent amount of engagement, and it was definitely not bad what they were saying. Honestly, my whole brand is also not to tear other people down, but what really spoke to me about, seeing that happen and seeing a bunch of people say the same thing is that none of this actually made me stop or made me remember this specific person. None of these posts made me actually think about something I hadn't thought about before, made me shift my perspective. It was just more of the same. Whereas when I think of the people that I actually stop scrolling for, I have a couple of accounts I follow. These are people who actually dare to speak up and actually share their opinion. And that doesn't mean you need to tear other people down. I personally dislike it when people do that. I think tearing other people down is usually a sign that those creators are very triggered by other people and don't know how to voice their opinions other than to speak up against someone else. And it's fine when that sometimes happens, but I think when all you do is tear other people down, I personally don't love it. So who are the people you love following? For me personally, the people I love following are people who make me feel seen, who are talking about something I haven't been able to put into words, who make me see something that I've been slowly realizing, and all of a sudden they are just like putting it into words. I'm like, yes, actually, that is something I was thinking about too. You've just crystallized this. So I can imagine you right now, you might have been creating content consistently lately. And maybe you're also feeling like you're one of those people who's trying to chase trends. Maybe you've been, publishing content quite consistently, but it feels like your engagement is slowly dying. So the biggest reason why most people's engagement dies, by the way, myself included, if I don't pay attention, like I'm creating this series because I have been paying attention to what I need to change as well. And I just want to be really open about that. It's usually we tend to become invisible in our content and have, lowering engagement, not necessarily because our content is bad per se, because you, like me, you've been here a while, but you often become invisible because you're playing it too safe. And this is something I need to remind myself of. I think like every 2 to 3 years, it's like this cycle that keeps repeating itself because safe doesn't actually stop the scroll. Does that mean you need to become mean in your content? No, but we do need to kind of change the way we go about creating content. So let's look at why this is necessary. If we look at the online business world, when I got started, back in, when did I start posting online? It was like 2017, back in the fitness industry. Then from 2019 onwards in the business industry, I think the industry is way more crowded than ever before. I don't know if you've scrolled through Instagram lately, but if you look at people's, story circles, it's just really busy there. Everyone is posting. And sometimes I will start a scroll and I'll literally just like, throw down my phone thinking like, this is all the same shit. Everyone is selling the same shit, saying the same shit. Everyone has the Canva template. Everyone is posting consistently. I mean, the people who are doing well are posting consistently. People are putting out freebies, checklists, and everyone is using AI to produce more content like faster than ever before. But this is actually the problem because AI is a multiplier, not a strategy. So if you're using AI to multiply safe, generic content everyone else is making, you're basically producing more of what nobody remembers. So your volume goes up. Your workload actually goes up even if you're using AI, but your impact stays flat. So the entrepreneurs who are actually winning right now are the ones who are using AI to move a lot faster on ideas that are already theirs. So they are already opinionated, they're actually human. They are not letting ChatGPT agree with everything on them. They're still talking to actual clients, recognizing symptoms, because when everyone is saying the same thing and more of the same thing because ChatGPT is agreeing with them, people's attention is going to where there is humanity, to where someone is actually saying something real. But most people are actually way too afraid to do that. So what's been really clear to me is that the accounts popping out are people who've been making content for a while and who have been really good at voicing their opinions for a longer time. If you've never been really good at this and you've been staying vanilla for a longer time, this is going to be extra difficult. Now, I'm right there with you. I think a lot of people know my brand and they think, oh, Amy has a really strong personality and she knows what she wants and what she stands for. And when I'm coaching people, this is true. In my personal life, this is true. But online, even I sometimes get afraid to speak up because, I don't want to hurt other people's feelings, or I don't want to be, only talking about money and that stuff. But I have realized that I have a lot of opinions that actually deserve to be seen and things that I would die on a hill for. So this is something I've been practicing with my clients. I've been asking them, like, would you die on a hill for this? So I have one client and she really believes people should dress more according to their personality and like really embrace their own style. And it really makes her so sad to see everyone always wearing black. So we had a conversation about that. She had a couple of comments from her immediate environment and people who said she was just seeking attention, stuff like that. So we talked about this. I have multiple people in the styling industry, by the way, or in the beauty industry as well. This is where people make you feel bad because you talk about looking good, basically. And so I asked her, like, do you believe that people feel better when they style according to their personality? She said, yes. I was like, okay, do you believe, I don't know, like you make more money when you look better and you look, you dress better? And she's like, yeah, I 100% believe that. I was like, okay, so would you die on a hill for this? And she's like, yeah. So I was like, okay, so this is not necessarily controversial for you. It might feel very controversial for other people, but there's a really big difference between picking a fight and just, polarizing to polarize and actually having a position that you agree on with your clients. So I think a good example is I often have this. I often say what I perceive to be quite rude or a little bit unhinged things to people. So earlier this week, I told my team that they should be spending more money. I told my team in a team meeting, I was like, hey, do you guys have 5 more minutes? I need to really talk about something. You guys need to be spending more money. I never want to hear the little sentence, oh, but that costs money. When they want to invest in software that speeds up their time, I was like, your guys' time is worth way more than the software costs me. So please come and ask me to spend more money on tech or software. So that was an opinion. I was like, I want my team to spend more money. And this is something that someone in corporate will probably never hear. So that is something I actually agree with and I could publish online. So I'm someone who's sometimes a little bit afraid of polarizing content because I'm always afraid like, oh, people aren't going to like me. And I've had to work through so much shit and I'm still working through shit on that. I'm like a massive recovering people pleaser. Maybe you recognize it as well. But the thing is, your audience actually doesn't need you to agree with everything you think they think. They need you to lead them. So often the exact thing you're afraid of saying is actually what will differentiate you from your competition. It's that opinion you've been sitting on. Maybe it's an opinion you have about what someone else is preaching and that it's total bullshit. And you could talk about that without, deleting, eliminating, destroying that person. It's the take that you tell clients about when you know you're in a safe space, but it makes you nervous to publish it online. And it's a thing you believe about your industry that you've been really softening or swallowing or cutting out before you hit post. And it's not just because edgy works, but I also believe stepping into your power just feels a lot better because when you are filtering yourself for a really wide audience, it basically means that you're making yourself invisible to the right one. Yeah. You know what I told my clients last week? And I was a bit afraid to say it, but I did say it. I was like, I don't understand how so many people have so very few followers. I was like, it's not that difficult, but you do have to show up. And if you show up consistently, you're already going to beat 80% of people. So like me saying that to my clients and I could hear a pin drop in that session actually tells me something that I need to be talking about online. And so this is kind of also where AI becomes dangerous, because what I've noticed when you create content, and I love using AI, I'm a big fan of Claude. I use it for a lot of my copy, but I've worked a lot on the tone of voice as well, and I'm still learning. You'll still see me say some AI things, but what works well for me is to always start with an idea in my brain and then using it as like a multiplier, but not as my strategy. I think this is a season where we need to dive even deeper into what are our clients feeling, what are people saying when they're at dinner with friends, what are clients saying between the lines, what is someone telling their partner at the dinner table. Like, this is what we really need to be thinking about. What are we saying to AI? Like, if you're brainstorming something at night because you felt like you just had a really shitty launch and you're wondering, why did my launch fail? The things people are asking ChatGPT is probably the secret content you should be talking about. But so your job is to have the idea, to bring the opinion. It's AI's job to help you multiply that idea and opinion and distribute it even further if you use it correctly. But remember that it's your multiplier, it is not your strategy. And if you don't have a clear point of view, um, AI is just going to multiply the noise and then everything is just going to fall flat. And I mean, I will say, I still believe that even if you have a flat opinion, just showing up consistently still really already beats 80% of people. So kudos to you if you're showing up. But the thing is, and I have to say this, is that the competition is fierce right now. If you create shit content, just no one is going to see it. You just can't get away with shit content anymore. That's the same opinion everyone else has. So, yeah, be you, be honest. Don't polarize to polarize, but say the stuff that you're a little bit afraid of. Say, like, I would say that's not necessarily making you poop your pants, but that is giving you a little bit of like butterflies in your belly. So, when I talk, so there's actually two things you need to do with this. One is state the actual opinion or the actual advice you're giving people. And then two is make it algorithm friendly. So these two are a little bit, they feel like they're not aligned. But what I'm seeing here is that when does it go wrong? You can have the flattest opinion and optimize it in a script, and it's still going to go nowhere because it's flat. You can have a really great opinion and a really great takeaway on something and just yap about it, and it can still perform a bit. But when is your content going to do really, really well? When you have a really great human, contrarian, polarizing opinion, and then you use AI to optimize your format and you make it algorithm friendly. That means for me, for example, when I'm recording ads, I used to always, if I would record ads, I would just yap and just like not think about hook, good hook, bad hook. I would just record something and make sure I had my curls on as a figure of speech, and it would just perform. Right now, there's so much noise online. I just can't create a shit ad anymore. I actually need to think about it. So I do believe scripting and optimizing for conversion has become more important than ever, but I do believe you're going to stand out if you make it human. So what I want you to do this week, and this is what we're doing, right? So we're doing the online business reset. I'm going to give you 5 episodes, 5 shifts. I'm going to give you a new episode every week. It's going to be about different things. We're going to talk about what if you have a failing launch? What if you have a product at a wrong price point? What should you be doing with AI? And for example, hiring a team. But this week, we're talking about visibility. And so what I want you to do is have a look at, how do you feel when you scroll through your algorithm? Or can you see the way your clients are scrolling through an algorithm, basically? Do you feel uninspired? Because I feel uninspired when I scroll through Instagram. It's terrible. Everyone is doing the same shit, and then I catch myself doing the same shit, and I fucking hate it. So what do you feel inspired by? So today I saw Dr. Jolene Brighton. I've followed her for a really long time. I think she's a fertility expert, or I don't know, something hormones, vagina stuff. And she posted something about how someone was basically mean to her about the fact that she hadn't immediately given free advice on a comment under her post. And she was like, I actually have work to do. I can't always be doing this free labor and just giving everyone free advice on this free platform. And I now respect her all the more for it. And I've followed her for years. And so it doesn't need to mean that you need to be doing something like that, but she already has a strong personality, a strong presence, and now I respect her even more for it because I'm like, yeah, you go girl. I wish I was like daring enough to say that. So I think the yeah, you go girl is like, when are you thinking, yeah, you go girl, like you're doing a thing I wish I was doing, you're doing a thing I wish I was speaking out about. Again, I want to reiterate, please don't just talk shit about people because I see way too many people do that. Have your own opinion. But so your assignment this week to break through the online business slop, I think, and the visibility, sameness, stagnancy we're all feeling is choose one really specific opinion that you have been holding back. So for me, an example from this episode could be that the exact thing you're afraid of saying is what will actually differentiate you from your competition. Um, I have another quote I wrote down today because I'm recording this as I'm in Austria with my friends. So one of the things I was thinking of saying, it's not that polarizing, but talking about money is always a little bit um like I'm always a little bit nervous about it because people think what they will think. So I wrote down a quote: money doesn't make you happy, but it buys you a trip to Austria with your friends. And that sure feels like happiness to me. And the reason I sometimes get a little bit, I'm not going to say afraid, but hesitant to post these things is because, I've gotten criticized in the past. People are like, oh, all she talks about is money or this or that. But then, you know what I've realized? You actually can't force people to like you. People are going to dislike you. And even more than that, if everyone likes you, probably no one really cares about you. So I would rather have a couple of people who really love my content, who love what I do, who just agree with it and are like, yeah, you go girl, you're saying the thing I wish I could do or I wish I could say. And then have a couple of people think I'm a complete idiot. Because if I have the lovers, I'll have the haters. But if I just stay vanilla, I'll have no one. So I truly do believe that there are so many brilliant women playing dumb online because they are afraid of getting canceled. They're afraid of being too much. But I think you can use that as an excuse if you are that vanilla in your personal life too. If you don't have opinions with clients, if you don't have opinion with your partner. But what I see is I see so many strong-willed, smart women with a lot of experience who see someone else with an audience of 10 times their size saying absolute horseshit opinions online. And they're sitting there scrolling, thinking, why does she have 10 times the reach I do with these shit opinions that aren't even scientifically true? Yet here I am not having time to post. Here I am not saying anything. And it's usually not having time to post. It's being afraid to go online about it. So that's what I want to challenge you on this week. What is something you believe about your industry that not everyone agrees with? Maybe something you've written before in your notes. Maybe it's saved in your drafts folder. Maybe you've deleted it before. Maybe you feel like you have to disclaim it with 5 different sentences. Maybe it's something you're telling your clients privately, but never publicly. This week, I'm challenging you to go and say it on a story, a reel, a post, not as a rant or, just talking shit about someone else, but a clear, calm statement of what you actually think. And let's make this a hill you would actually die on. Now, I have something for you. It's actually something really exciting that I forgot I had. So, a couple of months ago, I was on a flight, and one of the things I am practicing right now, I don't know if you could notice it in my podcast, but I've been practicing it, is actually saying things in a more authoritative voice. So, for example, with my clients, I'm practicing not saying, I think you should do this, but like, this has been proven a really great way to do this. So, I'm just like trying to communicate. And as I say this, I hear myself saying trying and like. So, these are also words I'm trying to cut out, but it's not easy. Um, in a voice of authority. And I made a swap list with like a little bit of an explanation and 10 things you can swap so you can stop sounding so hesitant and doubtful and just like swaps that will make you sound more confident. So if you want access to that, all you need to do is message me CEO voice, all one word. I have the guide written in English as well as in Dutch. I wrote it out on the plane and then I forgot to publish it. So here you go. It's really valuable. Probably no one will want to download it because, who's as crazy as I am to actually change the way you speak. But I know this is important. I know the way you talk, and when you talk from a place of power, you sell more, you get more authority. So let's just do this together, you and I, okay? I'm going to read through the guide again as well. Message me CEO voice, all one word, or go to the link in the description of this episode. And this was episode 1 of the Online Business Reset. The big takeaway today is please have an opinion, because AI will just regurgitate everyone else's opinions. And the next couple of weeks, we are going to create a massive online business reset. And let me have a look at what we're talking about next week. I think next week I'm back about your launch that didn't fail. But maybe your strategy and your tactics need some tweaking. Okay. So I'll be tackling different problems this month that come up for people as they are noticing that this year there are new rules to the online game. Okay. Let me know if you like this episode. Message me on Instagram. I do read every message, even though I'm not always good at replying, because I don't know if I'm talking into a void or if you loved it. Looking at the timer, 20 minutes, aced it. Yes, let's fucking go. Talk to you next week. Okay. Bye. You're probably listening to the Fail to Win podcast because you want to get better at business, marketing, and sales. And you want to pick up some new knowledge along the way as you are working out, driving, walking. And I so appreciate that you are here, but I have a little but, because let's be honest, free knowledge is good, but it won't actually always get you to implement stuff, because most entrepreneurs already know what they should be doing. They know they need to show up more visibly. They know that they need to create content consistently instead of sporadically. They know that they need to step into their power and their authority, but there's often such a big gap between knowing and doing. So if you're finding yourself starting from scratch with your content every single week, trying to figure out what to post, I can kind of guess what happens. On Monday, you post, you're so motivated. On Tuesday, you post. Then on Wednesday, something happens. And by Friday evening, you realize, shit, I forgot to post the rest of the week. How did this happen? Because I was so motivated. And I know that feeling because I used to do everything on motivation. And I thought if I can just stay motivated, everything is going to work out. With my fitness, I would get really motivated and think this is the year I'm going to make shit happen. And then I would fall off track. And then with my content, I would get such great ideas, spend way too much time on creating them. And then after a few weeks, I would notice like, oh no, I forgot to continue with my ideas. And this is when I realized that nothing basically sticks for me unless I build a system. And so many of my clients report the same thing. So maybe if you're currently finding yourself in this position with your leads and your posts and your sales, you are finding that every time you do a launch, you notice that you didn't have enough leads. Or maybe you only show up when you're selling. And this is exactly how my Authority Accelerator was born and how I built it for my clients. Because inside of the Authority Accelerator, we use my exact content system that I use to create content once a week or once a month, most often, where we build an entire content machine. You don't need a team. You don't need expensive ads. You don't need expensive funnels and complicated stuff. No random tactics. But you just need a content creation system that turns you and your whole brand into a marketing machine that brings in followers, leads, and clients on autopilot 24/7, even when you aren't online and you're actually offline most of the time, because life is too short to be posting to Instagram stories when you're on the couch with your partner and they're actually really craving your attention. If you're interested in this program, go to FastForwardAmy.com/accelerator, or simply click on the link in the description of this episode, or just message me on Instagram, message me accelerate on Instagram, and I'll see you inside of the accelerator.